After 10 years as a waitress, she was fired. What a billionaire discovered will change everything. Sarah wiped her brow, the griddle sizzling with pancakes and the smell of bacon wafting through the air. This was the life she'd crafted. For 10 years, she worked in the heart of Philadelphia, hustling through shifts at the diner, pouring coffee as the sun rose and flipping pancakes on weekends known for their bustling brunches. But today, everything changed. "We're cutting costs," her manager had said, cold and unfeeling. With those words, her heart sank, and she felt the walls close in around her. The diner, once her second home, bartered away her livelihood. Stepping out onto the sidewalk, the chill of a dreary morning mirrored her despair. She clutched her apron, a tangible reminder of the countless hours spent serving hungry patrons. Now it felt like a shackle. Mia, her 6-year-old daughter, needed shoes for school, and Jake, her 4-year-old son, needed snacks for soccer practice. The weight of her family's needs pressed down hard. Sarah knew how fragile their financial situation was, each paycheck barely keeping the bills at bay. What would she say to her mother, who relied on her for care? Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision of the bustling street ahead. Across the street, billionaire James, a power-suited executive who had his sights set on another merger, noticed Sarah's breakdown. The sight of her trembling hands, the way her shoulders slumped under the weight of her world, something tugged at his heart. Just outside the bubble of his luxury, he witnessed the stark contrast between their lives. In that moment, curiosity drove him closer, wanting to know the story behind those tears. He peered through the glass of his imposing office building, caught in a silent battle between his privileged existence and her palpable struggle. As hours turned into an agonizing search for a new job, Sarah faced relentless rejection. Each no felt like a punch to her gut, culminating in an encounter with an old coworker at a rival diner who scoffed at her 10 years of service, dismissing her capabilities with casual disdain. The harsh words left her feeling stripped of her dignity. Just when the hope of landing a temp job flickered, it morphed into a nightmare of long hours and mistreatment. A chocolate cake at the end of a long shift, but she was the one left without a slice. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The turning point arrived unexpectedly when James spotted her at a community job fair days later. She stood there, shoulders hunched as a hiring manager dismissed her with contempt. A fire ignited within him, urging him to challenge the injustice he had witnessed. "That's not right," he said, stepping in. His words surprised even himself as he confronted the manager, launching a chain reaction that would ripple through both their lives. However, as Sarah's story gained momentum within local news, she found herself torn between the layers of her newfound platform and the looming company cutbacks threatening it all. The fight was bigger than just her family's survival, it was about the dignity of workers everywhere. Would she risk everything she'd gained to stay true to her beliefs? The heartache returned, twisting tighter inside her. The path forward held consequences, and the weight of her decisions loomed heavy, leaving her wondering if she could bear it all, if she would find her way, or if desperation would swallow her whole. The following weeks found Sarah wrestling with the tidal wave of attention her story had generated. Her face appeared on local news broadcasts, the headlines reading, "Diner worker takes stand against corporate greed." It should have felt like a victory, but instead, it filled her with an unfamiliar blend of pride and anxiety. She was no longer just a waitress, she was a voice. But with that voice came expectations, and the pressure felt suffocating. At home, the clutter of bills lay scattered across the table, each one a reminder of her struggle. Mia and Jake played in the living room, blissfully unaware of the burdens piling on their mother's shoulders. Sarah could almost hear their giggles, but underneath, a storm brewed. She bit her lip, trying to hold back the tears. "I can't let them see me cry," she murmured to herself, as if saying it enough times could make it true. James had become a frequent presence, dropping by her apartment to check in or offering help with her resume. He always had a kind smile, a genuine interest, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a connection growing between them. But that connection, built in the shadow of her crisis, left her conflicted. Could she rely on someone like him? He was a billionaire, and she was just a waitress. They lived in different worlds. "Why don't you come speak at that workers' rights rally next week?" James suggested one evening, casually leaning against her kitchen counter. She was stirring pasta for the kids, the aroma of garlic mingling with the uncertainty in her heart. "I don't think that's a good idea," Sarah replied, swirling the pasta with a frown. "What if I fail? What if they laugh? They won't laugh. They want to hear from someone who understands, someone who has been through it," he said softly, his gaze steady. "You can inspire them. But inspire whom?" She thought. All she saw were the fears that gripped her. The fear of failing her children, of being scrutinized in front of a crowd, of stepping out of the shadows where she had always been comfortable. It was a restless night, her mind swirling like a tempest. As she lay in bed, watching the ceiling fan spin in slow circles, doubt settled in her stomach. Was she strong enough to take this stand? In that moment of solitude, she realized the fight had become more than just about her. It was about every single worker who felt voiceless, overlooked, and underappreciated. The thought sent a rush of warmth through her, igniting a flicker of courage. Sarah decided, in the early hours of the morning, to take the plunge. The weight of her decision settled heavily on her chest, making her breath shallow. The next day, she would meet with the rally organizers, and she would stand before the crowd. Yet lurking behind her resolve was a lingering question that hung in the air: if she stepped into the light, would she be ready for the scrutiny, or would the shadows dive deeper than ever? As she prepared to face this new chapter, she glanced at her children playing in the garden. "Mommy!" Mia called, laughter ringing clear. "Okay," Sarah whispered to herself, steeling her heart. "I can do this." But as she stepped away from her doubts, a flicker of worry lingered. What if her newfound voice not only brought attention but also danger? With the thought clamoring at her heart, she took a deep breath, leaving her courage to lead her forward. Little did she know, those very fears would soon escalate into something she never anticipated. What awaited her in the spotlight was perhaps more than just applause. The day of the rally arrived, bright and heavy with expectation. Sarah's heart raced as she made her way to the park where the event was set to unfold. The sun poured down, illuminating the faces of the diverse crowd gathered, their excitement palpable. Her palms were clammy as she adjusted the collar of her blouse. It felt like the world was watching. She spotted James at the front, standing tall and radiating encouragement. He offered her an assuring smile, and for a fleeting moment, the chaos inside her quieted. If she could just focus on the message, on the workers whose stories paralleled hers, maybe she wouldn't fall apart. As she made her way to the stage, she caught snippets of conversations swirling around her. Workers discussing their struggles, families talking about missed paychecks, and voices rising against the injustices of corporate greed. Sarah inhaled deeply, letting the collective energy wash over her. When it was finally time for her to speak, Sarah climbed the steps with trepidation. The microphone felt foreign in her hands, heavy with the weight of unspoken fears. She scanned the crowd, her eyes lingering on the faces that reflected hope, pain, and strength. "Hi, everyone," she began, her voice shaky yet steady. "I'm Sarah, and I was just like many of you, a waitress trying to provide for my family." As she spoke, her confidence slowly grew. The fear of failure faded into the background, replaced by an urgency to tell her truth. She shared her story, the long hours, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt that clawed at her peace. The crowd listened intently, hanging on her words. When she mentioned the headlines, the attention, and her decision to come forward, a low murmur of understanding rippled through them. "But it's not just about me," she continued, her voice lifting. "It's about all of us fighting for dignity and respect." Cheers erupted, emboldening her spirit. She felt the power of her voice hitting a resonance in the hearts of those listening. With each sentence, barriers crumbled, and she allowed her vulnerability to ignite connection. She spoke of dreams hers and theirs, of a future where all workers felt valued, cherished. Yet, as she stood there pouring her heart out, a flicker of unease tugged at her. From the corner of her eye, she spotted a tall figure lingering at the edge of the crowd. A man who seemed out of place, his eyes hard like shards of glass. She couldn't shake off the feeling that he was there for more than just support. As she concluded her speech, her heart raced with adrenaline and doubt. The applause rang out, powerful and affirming, but it was overshadowed by an itch of worry at the back of her mind. Had her voice really changed something, or had she only put a target on her back? After stepping off the stage, she felt the grip of James' hand reassuring her. "You were amazing, Sarah. You really connected with them." She smiled, but the shadow of that figure still loomed in her thoughts. Days passed, and the rally became a memory she cherished, but something felt off. Sarah began receiving strange emails, threats veiled in corporate jargon and intimidation. Her heart sank. The very power of her voice was drawing out shadows she never anticipated. As she stared at her computer screen, the dread closed in on her. What if speaking out put her family in danger? The dangers were real and could no longer be ignored. Then her phone buzzed. A message popped up, sending a cold chill down her spine. "We need to talk. It's about everything." Who could it be? And what secret could they possibly hold? The uncertainty tightened around her heart. As she prepared to confront whatever awaited her, she felt the weight of not just her story, but of a whole movement resting on her shoulders. The rush of fear surged within her again, but it was overshadowed by a burning question: was she really prepared for the fight ahead? Sarah took a deep breath, the sunlight pouring into her small kitchen like a warm embrace as she turned her phone over in her hands. The message felt like a storm cloud overhead, dark and ominous. "We need to talk. It's about everything." She glanced around her home, the walls echoing with the laughter of her children from moments before. How could she possibly put them in harm's way? She slipped the phone into her pocket, her fingers lingering on the cold screen. What if this was someone trying to intimidate her further? But then, the little flicker of hope that had ignited during her speech reminded her why she had taken this leap. Just then, a knock on the door jolted her from her thoughts. Heart pounding, she jumped slightly, and without thinking, she crept toward the sound. Through the peephole, she caught sight of a familiar face: Lila, a friend from the rally. Relief rushed through her as she opened the door wide. "Hey, I thought I'd check on you," Lila said, stepping inside and wrapping her arms around Sarah in a quick hug. "I saw your speech go viral. It's incredible." "Thanks," Sarah replied, forcing a smile, though the weight on her chest didn't lighten. "But there are other things happening, strange things." Lila's exuberance faded, her brow furrowing. "Strange how?" "Emails, threats, I think." Sarah scanned Lila's concerned expression before continuing. "They're from a corporate address. They're vague but threatening nonetheless." Lila's eyes widened. "You can't let them intimidate you. You're a voice for so many. We need to keep pushing." Words bubbled up inside Sarah, a mix of gratitude and fear. The rally had shown her the power of connection. "I want to keep fighting," she said, her resolve strengthening, "but what about my family? What if it puts them at risk?" Lila stepped closer, gripping Sarah's hands tightly. "That's the choice we all face. Silence or stand together. You're not alone in this." The weight seemed to shift ever so slightly. "You're right. I can't let fear win." With a deep breath, Sarah resolved to answer the mysterious message. "I need to find out who sent it. Maybe they can help." Lila nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Let us do it together. We'll figure it out." Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed again, the sound sharp and urgent. She glanced at it, heart racing as the screen lit up with another message from the same number. Meet me tomorrow at Juniper Cafe. 6 p.m. I have information you need. You have to go, Lila insisted, her voice firm yet supportive. But be careful. Do you think it's a trap? What if it's another threat? Anxiety snaked its way back into Sarah's mind. Then have us back you up. Bring someone else, Lila suggested. Okay, I'll ask James. Though her mind raced with fear, the thought of hope surfaced again. Maybe this could be a turning point instead of the end. As they sat down to plan, a wave of uncertainty filled the room. But with each moment spent preparing, Sarah felt the fear begin to recede, replaced bit by bit with a quiet, fierce resolve. When they finished their conversation, a new weight settled on Sarah's shoulders. She was now responsible not just for her family but for a growing movement. The stakes had never been higher. That night, as she tucked her children into bed, she lingered at the door, watching them sleep. The innocence on their faces only deepened her determination. She would protect them, but she would also fight for their future. The following afternoon felt like an eternity, the hours dragging on as anticipation built. Would this meeting reveal something powerful? Or unleash an even greater threat? Finally, the clock struck 6. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest as she stepped out of her front door. With each step toward Juniper Cafe, she felt the ground shift beneath her. Answers awaited her, but so did uncertainty. She glanced at her phone, fingers trembling over the screen. It was time to confront the unknown. But just as she turned down the street, an unfamiliar car pulled up beside her, the engine rumbling like an ominous warning. Sarah! A voice called from inside, and just like that, the world around her narrowed with tension. What now? Would this meeting reveal support or a web of dangers? Sarah! The voice came again, more insistent this time. The driver, a man with tousled hair and sharp features, leaned out of the window. His eyes looked both urgent and anxious. Do you know me? She asked, her heart racing. She took a step back, sensing the danger closing in. Not yet, but you need to listen. I'm here to help you, he said, his tone a mixture of urgency and sincerity. Help? With what? Sarah wasn't buying it. This was too strange, too sudden, and it screamed of all the scenarios that had played through her mind since receiving that cryptic message. Your speech. It shook things up, and some people don't like it. Please, get in. It's not safe here. He gestured towards the passenger seat. For a moment, doubt squirmed in her gut. She could run, call the police, or leave the scene entirely. But she knew she couldn't run from this. She needed answers, and this might be the lifeline she was searching for. With a shaky breath, she moved closer to the car, deciding to trust her instincts, at least for now. What's your name? She asked as she opened the door, heart thudding against her ribcage. Ethan, he replied quickly. We've got to go before they notice us. Without waiting for another reply, she slid into the seat. As the car sped away, she glanced back at her street, where familiarity began to slip away. Her life felt like a distant memory, unraveling the moment she decided to fight back. Who are they? Sarah pressed, still clutching her phone tightly. The ones who send you threats. They want to silence you. I have information about them, and I know how to help you protect your family, Ethan replied, his brows furrowed as he navigated through the back streets. The gravity of his words hit her squarely in the chest. You know who's behind the emails? He nodded, his gaze focused on the road ahead. Yes, but it's bigger than that. They have connections, and they want to take this lying down. A knot formed in her stomach as the reality settled in. She thought about her children, sleeping at home, blissfully unaware. Would they come after them? The stakes had never felt higher. What do you know? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Everything, he said. But I need you to trust me. We can't expose ourselves yet. The moment they know you're onto them, it could get dangerous. Why should I trust you? You could easily be working for them. For all I know, this is a setup. The doubt clung to her like a damp cloak, weighing her down. I'm not your enemy. Listen, I spoke at the rally last week. I was in the crowd when you made that speech. You have no idea how many lives you've already touched. His voice softened, and for the first time, Sarah caught a glimpse of sincerity. What do you mean? She asked, intrigued. There are people out there, following your story. You've reignited hope in many. But the suits? They see you as a threat. The words washed over her, a mix of warmth and anxiety. But what can we do? Ethan shifted his focus back to the road, determination flickering in his eyes. We gather evidence, find allies, and expose them for what they are. This fight is bigger than just you. It's about everyone who has been silenced. Sarah's pulse quickened as raw hope sparked inside her. Could this be the path forward, the chance to truly make a difference? She needed to think clearly, to evaluate every risk. Where are we going? She finally asked. To a safe place. I have a secure location where we can lay everything out, trust each other, and plan our next move. You're not alone, Sarah. This is just the beginning. As they approached their destination, uncertainty mingled with anticipation. Sarah had taken a leap into the unknown, but with each passing second, she felt a sense of purpose rising within her. What would they uncover together? Would truth prevail? Just then, her phone buzzed again, and panic hit her like a jolt. What if it was another threat? She glanced down. The message sent chills down her spine. You shouldn't have left home, Sarah. You're in more danger than you think. Time was ticking, and the shadows were closing in. Ethan took a sharp turn, narrowly avoiding a parked car, and Sarah braced herself against the door, fear flooding her senses. She stared at her phone, her mind racing. Who had sent that message? More importantly, how did they know? The unease twisted in her stomach, forming a knot that wouldn't ease. Stay calm, Ethan said, as if sensing the panic rising in her. We're almost there. And where is there, exactly, she countered, searching his face for answers. His determination was palpable, but doubt pulsed in her veins. A safe house, he insisted, his grip on the steering wheel firm. It's out of the way, and we can plan without looking over our shoulders. As they sped past flickering streetlights, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. Did she want her life outlined on the table in some hidden room where they could lay bare all the secrets? Her impulse to help others was being matched by a sheer fear for her own safety. Ethan, what if this is a mistake? What if, she began, but he interrupted. I know it feels risky, but believe me. I've seen what they can do. I lost people because I hesitated. You can't back down now. His eyes glimmered with urgency, and oblivion to any possible danger hung in the air between them. Who exactly are they? She asked, searching for clarity as unmarked turns turned into dark alleys. She needed specifics, a name, a face, something she could hold on to. They're a group pulling strings in the shadows. They manipulate narratives, cover up truth, and crush anyone who threatens their agenda. It's more than just you, more than just me. She interrupted, her heart racing. What do you mean? Your message to the community started a movement. You might not see it, but people have rallied behind you, it's scaring them. His words echoed in her mind, a terrifying yet exhilarating thought. She was inspiring change, had become a catalyst. But that realization was lumped with the stark reality of her current danger. Then how do we stop them? She asked, fueled by a new ambition. Ethan let out a breath, finally slowing the car as he pulled into a deserted parking lot. We gather evidence, find allies, and expose them for what they are. But how? I don't even know where to start. She exclaimed, frustration creeping in. Ethan turned toward her, his eyes fierce. You're already ahead, Sarah. You caught their attention. Now we need to dig deeper. They left a trail, and it's up to us to follow it. She nodded slowly, determination hardening in her chest. For the first time, she felt not just dread, but a burgeoning sense of empowerment. Perhaps she wasn't meant to be a victim but a warrior. "Let us get started," she said, her voice steadied as they climbed out of the car into the dim light of the parking lot. Ethan removed his backpack. The world felt heavy, but Sarah was charged with a sense of purpose. They moved toward a nearby door, and Ethan pulled it open. Inside, the room was stark and bare, yet it resonated with urgency. It was time for the reckoning. "First, we need to gather everything we can," Ethan instructed, retrieving a laptop and a stack of printouts from his backpack. "This is just the beginning of something much larger." As he set up, Sarah's phone buzzed again. She hesitated, fear creeping back but compelled by an underlying flame of hope. "Don't look at it yet," Ethan shouted, momentarily taking her attention. But she couldn't resist. Trembling, she checked the messenger app, eyes widening at the name displayed. It was someone she knew. Her heart thudded loudly in her chest as she read the message. "Sarah, I have something important to tell you about the group targeting you. Please, be careful." Was this a friend reaching out, or was it another trap? "Who is it?" Ethan asked, glancing up from his notes, concern etched across his face. "I am not sure if I can trust them," she whispered, the weight of choice pressing down. Would she risk opening old connections for possibly new dangers? The silence hung in the air between them, thick with uncertainty. Sarah's fingers hovered over the screen, her heart racing as she read and reread the message. The name connected her to a past she'd buried deep, but here it was, resurrected by urgency. Who could she trust when trust had become a luxury? "Let me see," Ethan said, moving closer, his eyes narrowing in on the screen. Sarah hesitated, then slid the phone toward him. "It's Leah. We used to be friends." Ethan frowned. "And why does that matter now?" "Because she's the one who introduced me to community organizing. But, we fell out when I started getting too involved." A shiver ran through her. Leah had always had a way of stirring trouble with her reckless ambition, but that was years ago. "Do you think she really wants to help?" Ethan's expression softened. "We need help. If reaching out to Leah puts you at risk, we'll find another way. But maybe she's closer to these people than you think." She nodded slowly, contemplating Ethan's words. "But if she has useful information? What if she could prove the group knows who I am? Maybe she could help us plan." "Just be careful," Ethan warned, glancing at the door as if expecting someone to burst through at any moment. "Text her back, but don't reveal too much. We don't know who's watching." As Sarah typed a reply, every keystroke felt heavy. She kept it brief. "Leah, I need help. Can you meet?" The message sent, she felt a flicker of anticipation mixed with anxiety. "Now, let us focus on gathering what we know," Ethan said, pulling her back to the task at hand as he began typing furiously, bringing up files on his laptop. A white glow illuminated the stark room, filled with echoes of determination. "Can you take a look at these?" He pushed a stack of printouts toward her. "We need to find common links between the members in the organization. I have some names, but we need to know if any have connections to you or the movement you started." She dove in, her eyes scanning documents filled with details, maps, contact lists, and eerie photographs of faces she didn't recognize. It felt surreal to flip through pages revealing a hidden world, one thriving on intimidation. With each name, her resolve grew. "Ethan," this one, she pointed to a name, her breath catching. "He was at the rally when I spoke." Ethan leaned closer, examining the page. "They were already watching you." A chill slithered down her spine. The fact that someone in their network had been there signified danger, but it also validated her role in something larger. It was terrifying but exhilarating too. As they pored over the documents, Sarah felt a vibration in her pocket. Her heart jumped. Leah had replied. Ethan looked up, his brows knitted. What did she say? It's coded. Sarah squinted at Leah's text, recognizing the hint of familiarity nestled between the words. It told her to come to a cafe on the outskirts of town, not just any cafe but the place they used to meet to plan community events. Are you serious? Ethan murmured, glancing at the clock. You can't just meet her out in the open like that. It's too risky. I know. Sarah exclaimed, feeling a mix of rebellion and need. But if she has something to tell me, I need to face this. I can't hide forever. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, frustration flickering in his eyes. We'll go together. We can't take any chances, especially with the stakes this high. A rush of gratitude washed over her. Thank you. I'd feel safer with you there. Let us regroup in 15 minutes. The faster we act, the quicker we can uncover the truth, he said, his voice a mix of urgency and determination. As Sarah prepared to move again, her mind raced. Could this be the lead that would uncover how involved Leah really was? With resolve triumphing over fear, she slipped her phone into her pocket, ready to confront the past, uncertain of what would come next. But something in her gut told her this was only the beginning. What hidden secrets would Leah reveal? And how deep did this web of deception go? The cafe buzzed with activity, a stark contrast to the tense silence of the room they had just left. Sarah inhaled deeply as she and Ethan stepped through the door, the scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the crisp autumn air seeping in from the open windows. The familiar clatter of cups and the hum of conversation felt strange now, almost like a distant memory, but it was precisely this setting that held the ghosts of her past. Stay close, Ethan whispered, scanning the crowd. Sarah's heart raced. Each time the door swung open, her pulse quickened. Leah could walk in at any moment, a burst of life from a time filled with laughter and dreams long forgotten. Maybe we should just wait outside, Sarah suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. The thought of facing Leah in a public space made her stomach flip. No way, Ethan replied, determination reflecting in his eyes. If Leah has information, we need to hear it. It's safer here than anywhere else. Sarah squeezed the strap of her bag, forcing herself to focus on the task ahead instead of the emotions swirling inside her. She spotted a booth in the far corner, half hidden yet still visible. There. Let us sit there, she pointed. They settled into the plush booth, and Sarah's fingers drummed nervously on the table. Minutes felt like hours as the clock on the wall ticked away. What if she doesn't show? She finally voiced her fear, glancing at Ethan. She will, he assured her, though his own eyes betrayed a flicker of uncertainty. As if on cue, the bell above the door jingled, and a familiar figure stepped inside. Leah was much the same, flaming red hair, a bright scarf wrapped around her neck, but there was an intensity in her eyes that Sarah hadn't seen before. The years had molded her, and for a moment, Sarah felt the weight of their shared history. It was a bittersweet reminder of camaraderie turned sour. Sarah. Leah called, her voice cutting through the noise. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It felt practiced, like an actor performing a role. I was surprised to hear from you. Ethan's tension was palpable beside her, but Sarah lifted her chin defiantly. Thanks for coming, Leah. They exchanged awkward pleasantries as Leah slid into the booth, her gaze darting between them. I got your message. It sounded urgent. Because it is, Sarah replied, keeping her tone steady. We need to know what you can tell us about the group. Leah's expression hardened, the facade dropping for a fleeting moment. You're still involved, then? I thought you were done with all of that. I wish I could be, Sarah admitted, frustration creeping into her voice. But they're still after me, and I need to understand how deep it goes. A silence fell between them, thick with the weight of their past. Leah looked more delicate than Sarah remembered, her strength buried under layers of caution. They won't stop, you know. Once you're in their sights, she trailed off, her eyes clouding over. Ethan leaned in, urgency creeping into his tone. What do you know, Leah? We need specifics. Leah hesitated, her eyes flickering toward the door as if expecting someone to come in. There are people within the city who've been watching you for years. They've got eyes everywhere. Sarah could feel her pulse quickening. What do you mean, everywhere? Are they connected to the protests? Worse than that, Leah whispered, glancing around. They're manipulating things from behind the scenes. If you're not careful, you might just end up being a pawn in their game. Panic surged in Sarah's chest. A pawn? What do you mean? But before Leah could respond, the cafe door swung open again, this time with an unsettling force. A group of men entered, their focused gazes sweeping across the room, landing dangerously close to their booth. Sarah's stomach twisted. She recognized one of them from the rally, the very person whose presence had spiked her anxiety since the beginning. Leah, Sarah breathed, her voice a mix of fear and urgency. We need to leave. Now. As they stood to make a hasty exit, Leah's expression shifted. Wait. I can't just leave. But Sarah had already felt the threat closing in. You don't understand. They're here. The atmosphere shifted completely, crackling with tension. Sarah realized the truth: this was no mere meeting, it was the start of something bigger, something they were unprepared for. Come on. Ethan urged, his grip on Sarah's arm firm as he pulled her toward the exit. Wait. Leah shouted, her voice blending with the chaos. I can help. There's so much more to reveal. But they were already outside, the cold air biting at them. Heart racing, Sarah knew they had opened a door they could never close. What would Leah reveal, and would they truly be safe? Sarah stumbled onto the sidewalk, the cold air hitting her like a slap. It was a jarring contrast to the warm, bustling cafe they'd just left. She turned to Ethan, her breath coming in quick bursts. Do you think they saw us? She asked, her voice trembling. I don't know, Ethan replied, his gaze darting to the cafe windows, an undercurrent of fear threading through his usually steady demeanor. Leah's footsteps echoed behind them, and Sarah caught a glimpse of her looking back towards the cafe, uncertainty knitted across her brow. I can't just walk away from this, Leah insisted, her voice shaky. They'll come for me too. Then you need to tell us everything now, Ethan urged, gripping her shoulder. Leah hesitated, weighing the gravity of her knowledge against the danger surrounding them. Okay, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. There are networks, powerful people. They've spun a web around the city. They're not just watching you, they're controlling this entire situation. The protests, it's just a front for their real agenda. Sarah looked between Leah and Ethan, the weight of her words settling like a rock in her stomach. They were in deeper than she had imagined. But why? What do they want with me? Leah took a shaky breath. You were part of it once, they see you as a threat. You know too much, and if they think you'll spill what you know, they won't hesitate to silence you. Ethan's grip tightened. So, what's our plan? We need to act fast. Leah shifted her weight, glancing nervously at the side streets. We need to disappear for a while. I know a place, a safe house. It's out of the city, and no one will think of looking for us there. Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. We can't just sit here waiting for them to find us. If there's a chance to dig deeper into this, to understand what's really happening, we have to take it. Leah nodded, a flicker of respect shining in her eyes. But you need to trust me. No second guessing. We stick together. Let us go then, Ethan urged, glancing back toward the cafe as if expecting to see shadows creeping towards them. The trio moved quickly down the street, navigating through the throng of pedestrians, each step heavy with unspoken dread. Sarah could sense the furtive glances that Leah cast over her shoulder, and her own tension rose like a tide. As they turned the corner, Ethan suddenly stopped. Hold on, do you hear that? A low rumble echoed in the distance, gradually intensifying. Sarah felt her heartbeat quicken, it sounded almost like a convoy. We need to hurry, she urged, anxiety flooding her. Just as they picked up speed, a sleek black SUV pulled up beside them. The windows slid down smoothly, revealing a man in a crisp suit and sunglasses, his expression unreadable. Get in, he ordered, the words sharp and commanding. Who are you? Ethan asked, instinctively moving in front of Sarah. I'm here to help you, the man replied, his voice calm yet edged with urgency. We have to leave. Now. Sarah's instincts screamed to run, but she also sensed an opportunity. How do we know we can trust you? The man's jaw tightened. You have no time to decide. But I promise, if you want answers, getting in is your best shot. An unexpected wave of desperation engulfed her. They had options, dangerous ones, yes, but still a chance. What do we do? She turned to Leah and Ethan, heart racing. Ethan eyed the vehicle with suspicion, weighing their lack of choices against potential danger. We need information. If he has it, we might not have another chance. The choice lay heavy in the air, silence settling around them. Okay, Sarah said, heart pounding as she opened the door, trusting her gut, even as doubt clung to her, but as they climbed into the SUV, a chilling thought crossed her mind. This was merely another step on a perilous path, one that could lead them into even darker territory. What lay beyond those tinted windows? And would they truly find the answers they sought, or a trap waiting to close around them? As the SUV surged down the street, Sarah felt her pulse quickening, every jolt of the vehicle matching the chaos brewing inside her. She sat next to Ethan, with Leah squeezed in behind them, each of them cloaked in their own swirling thoughts. Where are you taking us? Sarah asked, her voice steadier than she felt. The suit man glanced back, his expression unwavering. To a safe house where you can gather your strength and resources. But we have to move quickly. Why do you want to help us? Ethan pressed, his protective instincts flaring. The man's jaw tightened slightly. Because I believe in what you're doing. That rally. It sparked concern for people in power, people who don't want their secrets exposed. The words hung in the air, igniting a mix of hope and fear within Sarah. She had ignited change, and it had scared the powerful. Did that mean there was a chance they could fight back? They flew through the city, and Sarah watched the streetlights blur into streaks of gold, her mind darting between her children's faces and the risk they were taking. She couldn't let fear consume her. She had to be brave for the sake of her family, for all the workers looking for a voice. Moments later, the SUV arrived at an inconspicuous building tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. The man led them inside, the dull thud of the door behind them echoing like a heartbeat. This place is secure, he assured, locking the door behind them. Inside, the atmosphere shifted. Dim overhead lights flickered on, casting a soft glow over the sparse surroundings. A table sprawled in the center, maps and papers scattered like a chaotic web of lives intertwined. Sit, he urged, directing them to take a seat. His sharp gaze flitted between them. You need to know who you're dealing with. With that, he unfurled a large map of the city, marking areas of interest with swift motions. This is their territory. They control distribution, keep tabs on workers' movements, and manage how news gets out. If you're going to expose them, you need information, evidence that can't be silenced. Sarah leaned closer, captivated yet overwhelmed. And how do we find that evidence? You've already begun, he replied, a hint of admiration crossing his face. People are rallying around your cause. They trust you. Use that connection, and we can gather intelligence. I can introduce you to others who want to push back. Ethan broke the silence, his voice filled with determination. We can do this. We have to go public, not just with our stories but with proof. Yes, Sarah affirmed, her resolve hardening like a steel beam. We get to the heart of this operation and show them we won't be silenced. As they strategized, Sarah felt the weight of anxiety lifting, replaced by something she hadn't tasted in a long time: power. Every moment spent unraveling the hidden threads of deceit fueled her spirit. Later that day, under the pretense of routine, they began to make connections. Local union leaders rallied behind Sarah, her story fueling their fires. Ethan was her right hand, planting seeds of resolve, while Leah surprised them both with her knowledge of navigating the underground world of activism. Days turned into weeks, each passing hour layered with tension and perseverance. Leah proved to be a key player, getting them information on shipments and meetings. Yet, with every step forward, shadows loomed just beyond reach, and the fear of what was coming never left point. One night, gathered in their safe house, Sarah looked from her computer screen to Ethan, feeling an electric tension between them. "This is it," she said, pulse racing. "We have enough to take them down. Are you ready for this?" "I am," he replied, his gaze steady. "We'll do this together." As they compiled evidence and shared their findings with a growing circle of supporters, Sarah felt a change inside her. She wasn't just a waitress anymore, she was a leader. She held the power to encourage change, to provide hope for workers who had felt voiceless. The final showdown came swiftly, a day that would alter the fabric of their community. Armed with evidence and a network ready to fight, they were prepared. As Sarah stood outside a corporate building, flanked by Ethan and Leah, her heart thudded as a crowd gathered, faces filled with determination and unity, all there to support her cause. "Together, we rise!" Sarah shouted, rousing the crowd, her voice clear and true. "Together, we will not be silenced." Cheers erupted, the sound filling her with purpose, and as she stepped into that corporate fortress, ready to expose the lies aimed at hiding the truth, she realized she wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every underappreciated worker, every longing mother, every kid's future denied by greed. She took a deep breath, filled with overwhelming pride. This was her moment. And with that realization, she smiled, tears slipping from her eyes, not of sadness but of triumph, of transformation. Sarah was no longer defined by her past but by her hope for the future. This was only the beginning. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to ensure you never miss out on another inspiring tale. This is the moment to show your support. Your likes feed the algorithm and spread these stories to others who need them. Leave a comment and share your thoughts on this incredible transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how courage can change everything.